Well, today I want to offer you a word of encouragement from the Word of God. You know, sometimes when we hear that somebody wants to offer us a word of encouragement, we think they're going to go to a passage that talks about God's love or the hope we can have in the circumstances we're in. And while I appreciate those passages, today's passage might be not the one you were thinking of. It's found in Psalm 13, and the title in my Bible is called The Deserted Soul. This is David's plea to God to deliver him from some circumstances that he was in. You know, today in this time that we're in, I think some of us are in those same circumstances. We don't know who to turn to. We don't want to seem as if we don't have it all together. And yet deep down in the four walls we are confined to right now, we are crying out to God. I want to come to you today and just acknowledge that that's okay. In fact, I would ask you to follow the prescription that David gives us here in this particular psalm. There are three things that David does in this psalm that I would recommend for you if you're struggling in whatever circumstances are at your feet right now. The first is this, is that you can proclaim your misery. David says in Psalm 13, verses 1 and 2, "How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long shall I take counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart all the day? How long will my enemy be exalted over me?" Maybe some of us are feeling that right now because of the circumstances that you didn't ask for, but now you find yourself in. Health issues, financial losses, struggling with relationships. You know, some people are telling me that their marriages are now strained because they're seeing more of their spouse in these times. Maybe this is a time where we can proclaim our misery to God. And while some of us take the position that we should never do that, I find David honestly crying out to God. In fact, not only does he proclaim his misery, but he petitions God for delivering him from that misery. Look at verses 3 and 4 in Psalm 13. David says, "Consider and answer me, O Lord my God. Enlighten my eyes, lest I sleep the sleep of death. Lest my enemies say I have overcome him. Lest my adversaries rejoice when I am shaken." David's coming to the Lord and saying, "God, I don't know why I'm in these circumstances, but I know one thing. I want out." And I think it's okay to come to God after I've proclaimed my misery to him, to ask him to deliver me from those circumstances. But finally, if the verses just end if Psalm 13 just ended at verse 4, I think we would have a different lifestyle, a different mindset that I think many people actually take with God. And that is, I can go to God all the time and just complain. I can go to God all the time and just doubt him and doubt my circumstances and doubt that he's in control. And if Psalm 13 ended right at verse 4, I think we would have precedence to do that. But listen to verses 5 and 6. This is where David preserves his faith. He says, "But I have trusted in your loving kindness. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the Lord because he has dealt bountifully with me." You see, in the midst of David's troubles, in the midst of his trials, those that he didn't bring upon himself that were just brought to his feet, he cried out to God and asked him to deliver him. And yet David was quick to acknowledge the right relationship he has with God. For whom else can deliver us from our problems but God alone? And so David cries out to God and asks him to deliver him, and yet turns to God and acknowledges who God is. He says, "God, I'm going to trust in your loving kindness. My soul is going to rejoice in your salvation, and I'm even going to sing to you, because even in these difficult times, you have dealt bountifully to me." It's a great balance between acknowledging what is true, but never forgetting the goodness of the Lord. I'm reminded that maybe we should follow Jesus' example. In Luke chapter 22, verse 42, where Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he says, "Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me." You see, Jesus went to God and proclaimed his misery. He even petitioned for deliverance. But listen to the back half of that verse. "Yet not my will, but yours be done. I think if we follow that model, we'll be okay.